Bill, your mic's not on.
Okay. All right. Hear me out. Did my street get ticketed for the first time that I have lived here, 2 years now, for people parking on the sidewalk, which everyone does? Because a few days ago I wrote an article catching the city manager in an obvious lie. I don't believe it all the way, but I don't fully not believe it either.
I believe it.
It's annoying. And sure, have my $40. Eric Batista, you really got me. So anyway, we're doing a Worcester Sucks Power Hour. We got Brian O'Donnell on. We got Brendan Melican on.
Hi.
Yo.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. We haven't done one of these in a while, but since there's no city council meeting tonight, doesn't mean we don't have to stream, right? They won't be meeting again until August 22nd, I believe, but which is just fine, whatever. It's not like they do anything anyway.
Oh,
but
eat
the
hot
last
chip and lie.
Yeah, just eat hot chip and lie. Yeah, just chug an entire bottle of water because two caught you in obvious lie. And just have body language the entire time that just strongly suggests that you're lying. Your hands are behind the back. You're holding your coat. You're looking around the room. You're getting angry, but
You're pulling on your collar and going,
ooh, yeah. So yeah, I guess I wanted to start today by doubling down on the thing that got me ticketed, and talking about how Councillor Chu Nguyen did actually catch Eric Batista in a lie, like in a way that's provable. And the reason why we have to talk about this is like the entire cultural and media apparatus of politics in the city has taken to making the issue the fact that Chu called Batista a liar, and not the fact that Batista fucking lied. Like, why is it worse to say someone said a lie than to say a lie? It's so crazy.
Their quote unquote crime was even less egregious than that. They didn't call him a liar. They said they asked why he lied.
Yeah, right. Like that's a given.
A little less accusatory than calling someone a liar.
Right. It's not like
benefit of the doubt.
But if you're someone like, I don't know, Gary Rosen or Joe Petty, it makes it sound a lot better that Chu was calling Batista a liar, because then that's besmirching character.
Right.
That implies that it's unfounded, but it was literally a lie. So let's break it down here. What Chu actually asked was, were you telling the truth last September when you said you had a draft ordinance on this crisis pregnancy center thing good to go? Did you lie to me in that moment when you said that? And Batista was like, no, I never tell a lie. I'm above that, right? That was last September. Last November, 2 months after Batista said that thing that he maintained last week was true, Mike Traynor sends a text to someone in the Attorney General's office saying no ordinance, meaning he didn't draft an ordinance, and I don't intend on drafting one. And also said in the meeting last week that the person who told him not to draft an ordinance was Eric Batista. Mm-hmm. And no one is fucking talking about that.
Right.
It was out there in public. Didn't take a lot of digging to get that. Right. I mean, it wasn't like the Patch and Neil did a great job getting those text messages, but those were out there before the meeting. Mm-hmm. And instead of trying to change his story or whatever, Batista just said, no, I didn't lie to you. But it's like, yeah, you did. No,
and then had his attack dog, Joe Petty, get on the radio and say that. It was disgusting.
It was disgusting.
Which I've heard a couple people comment on, Bill, which I find really interesting about Joe, is that you could say something truly horrific about somebody, but if you do so with words that he considers to be mean words, that's like the bridge too far. And that's really what it was. So like calling out Eric for lying, that's okay. But as soon as you call him a liar, now you're saying a mean word, and like you got to put the brakes on. Like this just can't
Right.
stand. Which is
But
just so old school to me that's how our mayor functions.
right, and there's a sleight of hand there that makes his position like sound more okay. In that, like, you know, two actually did not call him a liar like once. They just asked, "Why did you lie to me?" Which is like,
it's such like a, you know, maybe the problem is that it's too human for city councilors, like to like have that question asked of them of like, oh, like essentially saying like that was mean of you to do, like is like is the honest way to put it, but is, you know, something that, you know, the city council does not want to hear.
Right.
right.
That
It's like,
their
what are
actions
you
have an effect.
like? What are you there for? I think that's the really prevailing dominant question that has emerged from
Right.
the last city council meeting. It's like, what actually are you there for?
Yeah, that is
Like-
the other part. Kate Toomey, we clocked it on the stream. We couldn't figure out that there was some sort of interaction that happened between Toomey and Two as they walked out of the chambers, and we couldn't figure it out. And then luckily Two is transparent enough to just post what it was afterwards, where Toomey said that their conduct was unbecoming of a city councilor, which is wild.
Yeah, I in my last post, I spent a long time breaking down just how wild it was that Kate Toomey would say such a thing to Two, and it was like everything underlying that, like just the word becoming, like saying that as an older white lady to someone of color who's younger. It's just like it's like literally the reason why they built reform schools in reservations, you know,
Right.
to police what's becoming and what's unbecoming. And it's like, if like actually trying to use your power to hold the city manager accountable makes you unbecoming, what the fuck is becoming?
Yeah.
Right? Like what the hell is becoming? Yeah, it is. We are seeing Troubler 50. You're right. A lot of like sort of the more subtle shades of white supremacy coming to a head here when, you know, Joe Petty feels comfortable calling Two disgusting. Toomey feels comfortable calling Two was it unbecoming, and then this whole thing about uncivil or like civility
Right.
needs to be the goal. It's like the claim to know what's civil and what isn't, and the people that is being leveled against as being uncivil. It's like, would you really feel comfortable calling Christian King or Tu Nguyen uncivilized? Like, like you're saying the same thing. It's literally a synonym.
Yeah.
it just like is not as overtly racist as saying the other synonym for what you're saying.
Yep.
And they apparently have no problem with that. I mean, that Gail Petty email from forever ago.
Real my family put up a Columbus statue vibes coming from that email.
yeah. And it's like, I mean, this whole thing about respectability politics and like the councilors that actually want to use their power to hold the city manager to account aren't being respectable is like very much indicative of a city council that doesn't want to lead, and it's just a collection of weirdos that are content to look like they are in charge while not actually being in charge, which is kind of the bigger point that I was trying to get at in my last piece. Is like the compact that these old guard counselors make is that they know they're not in charge, and they know that things like who gets to be the city manager and whether they're evaluated is like not up to them. And instead they just like beg the city manager for treats, right? They're like, oh, give me some sort of like park project that I can use to say I deserve to be reelected in 2 years, you know, and they just jockey for who gets the most treats. Like that's the whole thing behind Candy Merrill Carlson's freak out earlier this year about not being, or last year rather, about not being put on economic development. And then, you know, Candy was just like, that's my treat. How dare you take my treat away from me?
Right.
And it's like it's worse than if it was actually earnest respectability politics. It's like they're literally being like, no, wait, you can't do something.
Right.
You're breaking the rules if you try to do something. You're supposed to just keep your mouth shut if your order never comes back to the city council floor, right? You don't say that out loud. You don't say that the city manager does whatever he wants to do.
Right, and that's the other part of it too, is like, even like people trying to allow for the fact, like, oh well, like they blindsided like the meeting with this. Like, this isn't how you go about it. You don't just like, bring it up to them, like bring it up to the city manager in person if you have a problem with it. There's been two has made no bones about the fact that they want this order this draft brought forth. Like, they have brought it up many times at the meetings, like asking for an update. And that's all this order was as well. But it just came to a head because it became clear once those text messages came out that there were lies going on. So it's like, two did things the correct way, the quote unquote respectable way, the way that everyone is asking them to do it, and nothing happened. So what other avenue did they have then to take even just the tiniest step towards being more confrontational? It wasn't like a huge deal. Like, it shouldn't have been a huge deal.
It's like, it's been a year. I'm refiling this because I care about it and I want to see something. The thing that the council voted in the affirmative to get. And like that is being made into like the crime of the century by like your Joe Petty's and your Eric Batistas and your Gary Rosens of the world. What did Gary Rosen say today? Oh, I got it right here. From Talk of the Commonwealth on Twitter, former city councilor Gary Rosen said it's a big problem that Councilor Nguyen asked city manager Batista if he lied to them. He thinks the city manager should have stood up and called it out. He says we can disagree on issues, but we have to respect each other. And it's like, respect each other? What respect has two received? Like, even what modicum of respect have they received?
Right.
Like
this
the
is
whole
the
attitude.
I'm saying this is the time frame I find fascinating about politics in Worcester right now is that, like you said correctly, Bill, it's an old guard, and they know their role, that they get their treats, and then those treats are recycled and delivered to the general public as like these are the things that give me a sense of power and allows me to hold power over my constituents. That like, oh, you got a pothole, you got a sidewalk, you got a street, I can take care of these things for you, and maybe some long-term things that are going to happen anyways, like Gary with his dog parks or whatever the case may be. But I feel like the disconnect is with, as I don't like use terms like youth vote and whatever, but as a younger generation comes into the fold from a voting perspective, they're all smart enough to realize that like we don't need city councilors to be doing streets and sidewalks, right? That's an engineering problem. If we spent the same amount of money we spent on license plate readers on police cars, every city vehicle could have a LiDAR camera on the front of the car that's actually just tracking potholes and road conditions as they're driving, and then we could have software that's actually determining based on usage what roads need to be repaired and whatnot. Like, they're so completely irrelevant, but because we live in John Lurie's bubble that even God isn't allowed into, we don't have any exposure to the outside world where they're able to look out and say, oh, other communities have taken my job off the table and made me irrelevant. And then meanwhile, you've got this slightly younger generation of counselors coming in trying to do some real work, and they're just swatted down as though that's going to accomplish anything as the city crumbles around us.
Right. And I think you see that in the comments that all of the counselors made on this issue last week. You had two, Attell, and Christian, all basically saying, regardless of anything else, I'm the city councilor. I should be voting on whether or not we go forward with this ordinance. Like, you can't just say that it has legal questions and not put it up for debate. Right. It is our job to make these grand thumbs up, thumbs down decisions, not yours.
And that's what everyone criticizing too after the fact is conceding. They're conceding that they were right to ask for this and that the Batista was wrong to not bring it forward. But damning two as the villain in this case because they like had the temerity to like ask a specific question about why they were told an untruth. So
Right. And I think what really grinds their gears, what really rankles them, gets them all riled up, is that there was no show of deference, right? Like two was literally just asking questions directly and expecting an answer. They weren't doing the whole sort of runaround of like, oh, you know, I know you're doing such great work on all of these issues, and like the work you're doing is so good, but I do have a small concern about this very small, tiny thing that I'm sure you can easily fix, and it's just an oversight.
Probably just a mistake, and you're so
Yeah.
smart, and it's just below your notice. And please answer
Right.
my question.
Yeah, and that deference is like so baked into the whole culture of the way that all of these counselors talk for 5 minutes straight without saying anything real. And it must have pissed them off so bad to see two just go, "Why did you lie to me?" Like, just say the thing that they meant out loud, right? It's like just even just seeing someone do that in the context of a government meeting, especially a low grade government meeting like a Worcester City Council meeting, is crazy. You never see that. You never see people just literally say what they mean. You know?
Yeah,
It's
and
great.
I think that's why, like, I understand Toro Sally's point here that that there's an argument to be made that it's more effective to go along and to get along. But in this case, I think that not calling it out directly gives Batista cover. And after a year, literally a year of just getting pushed off and getting pushed off and getting ignored, that it's time to even just take a step towards confrontation. Not full confrontation, just kind of directness.
Right.
And to say that, like, oh well, that just gives them an opening to attack you. It's like, yeah, well, they're being disingenuous and they're lying, and so you can't. We shouldn't change our tactics or change, like, you shouldn't abide by somebody acting in bad faith and just allowing them to get away with it, to just be like, oh well, in the long run it'll be, no one's ever tried to just be direct before, so we don't even know if it'll work out better.
Yeah.
Now the draft is coming to the floor, so
Yeah, we're gonna get the vote that we all knew we were gonna get. It's gonna be, 3-8 or 4-7.
right.
And we all knew that was happening. And that kind of goes back to Cyril Sally's point here, is that if there was a path forward, and like if there was compromise to be made and gains to be made by compromising and by not pissing them off, then yeah, sure, you should take steps to not piss them off. But it's very obvious a year and a half plus into this city council session that there's no compromise that you're going to get, right? It's just going to be slowly dogged and scuttled along until what the city manager wanted to happen happens in the end. And there's, I just don't think that there's a path forward besides using this opportunity, like two did, to sort of like challenge the status quo and see how it responds to being challenged. I think is the only thing you can do right now. And like every time you do what two did, you see another move. You see that they're going to default to character assassination style tactics when put in a position where they have to defend themselves against a good question.
Yeah,
right.
And that there's going to be sort of a consensus among everybody in this culture that's the line. Like Gary Rosen didn't come up with that line that he said on top of the Commonwealth by himself. It's like they are just they hear other people take that tact, and then they're going to take that tact, and they're not going to sort of look behind that curtain. They're just going to be like, oh yeah, the issue is that two said that Batista was a liar.
Right.
And never ever look at whether two was right. Yeah. So, I mean, I do understand like the need to be polite when you expect that something will come from it, and that it's not like it's like an unforced error to be direct about it and risk pissing someone off. But I think we're in a position right now where nothing's going to happen anyway. So why not be direct about it?
Also, and nothing has happened. Like if you opened up the salvo by being like, you're never gonna fucking do this anyway, so like, like that's one thing to be like, oh, that's probably not a smart idea. But
Yeah, right.
again, Batista had a chance. He had ample opportunity to bring it forward and say, this is a really bad idea and it leaves us up open to legal risk, and have his opinion on it, have trainers' opinion on it. Great. But they acted shady and then lied and then got caught lying. And that kind of takes out like your ability to be like, you have to be nice to me or else I'm not going to do anything for you, because you already weren't going to do anything for us.
Right, right. And like, we wouldn't have seen how the lie or how shady they acted if there wasn't a direct challenge. Like you like, there's certain things that they're never going to say out loud, but you have to show. And they really showed in this moment that they kind of just tell the council to fuck off and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And they expected that in this situation, they would do what they do in every situation and just, be like, oh, that's a good idea, city council. We'll think about it. And then if they actually want to do it, they'll do it. But like, they don't see themselves as beholden to the city council, which is something that like they are right to expect given the city council of like the past couple decades. Right. But like, so it's interesting to see them waffle in the face of a like small minority block of the city council that sees things differently and like actually wants oversight power, and like how they get caught with their pants down where they're like, oh, we didn't expect you guys to like want to actually have power, Well,
that's the crazy thing too, that it's like, to say that there was some lack of respect or decorum, that's implying that two went on some like unhinged racist rant prior to using the word lie, right? Like they just threw out a verb into the universe and said, you did this. There was nothing unpolite about that. It's
and
just
established, and spent 6 questions establishing that that's what it was a lie.
Like, very well. I mean, and again, if the general public disagrees that, whether or not that motion should have been put forward or those orders should have been put forward, that's a completely different conversation.
Sure. Yeah.
Somebody who's not a lawyer just did a great job pointing out that your administration takes this tact with their own overseers, never mind the general public. And that's something everyone should be paying attention to.
Yeah. Right. And that quiet part, like, has really never been said so loud as it's been said in the wake of this this CPC thing from last Tuesday, I think. Right. Even the fact that they were just like, oh wait, never mind, we're gonna draft an ordinance and put it up for a city council vote, and like saying to the newspapers that like they respect the will of the council. It's like dog, you would not do that if you didn't get publicly called out for not doing that. Right. Like your default position was to disrespect the will of the city council, and then you're saving face by saying otherwise.
And that's really like somebody, I can't remember, was it Cryptid that asked before like what the backdoor deal was that forced Eric to finally draft the ordinances? I don't think there was a backdoor deal. I think it's literally just that they've never been called out in public before for something like this, and now just have to bring it to the floor. And I think they will. So Sally asked if they think that if we think that the ordinance will be brought to the floor in August. Yes, absolutely, I do. Because one, they again, like, Eric got called out and publicly and like without really a good answer for it. And two, they all decided on Talk of the Commonwealth how it's gonna go. It's gonna go down, so they'll bring it to the floor and they don't care, because that's a more final like killing of it than just hiding it.
And it's used politically to be like, see, see, you're in the minority for even wanting this. Like I am supported by 8 city councils. Like I would put $100 on that vote being 3 to 8.
Yep.
Like,
but this is the thing. This is why they didn't want to bring it to a vote, even if it's a losing vote, is because that's just watch what it does. Watch what this vote like brings forth in as far as like that close to an getting close to the election, this is going to drum up a lot more support for 2 and people pissed off that the council didn't pass something that protects people. Whether or not we talked about the gray areas and the legalities and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they're voting down something that could protect people is exactly why he chose to hide it, is for political reasons, not like as much as for lawsuit reasons. We've already established that they don't care about lawsuits.
Yeah, and I mean that is the norm to both of your points throughout all of this. That if you pay attention to agendas week to week, it's not uncommon to see a report or an order from Connie Lukes be mentioned, because things just get buried for all eternity when nobody wants to deal with them. But the clerk is obligated to bring things back up on certain timelines and whatnot before they push them back down into the depths of City Hall. This one, too, just did a masterful job of calling them on it. And yeah, Brian, I mean, that's what this is going to look like. It's not quite, shooting down Roe versus Wade, but heading into an election season in Massachusetts, probably not the time you want to poke an abortion bear.
Yeah. And it's wild that like the affirmative vote was like back in July was very much like a statement of being a good Democrat in that post-Dobbs moment. Like, especially for someone like Joe Petty, of being like, oh, I think it's really bad what's happening in those red states. And, you know, I support this order because we're not like them, right? But, like, he did that with the expectation that he would never have to hear about this again, right? It would never come back up because that's how City Hall works, you know? That's the City Hall that he knows. That's how it works. But now it comes back up months before an election, and the narrative is going to be City Council doesn't act on crisis pregnancy centers, right? City Council declines to act on crisis pregnancy centers, and like they can justify that all they want in their insular little bubble of being like it's about respectability politics, but like the way that's going to read to the wider public is just like, oh, you guys voted for this and then didn't, It's like. It's crazy. It is a bad position. That's probably why Eric never brought it back up. I mean, I guarantee there was a discussion between Joe and Eric about how let's make sure that doesn't come back up, Yeah. But that's just Worcester, baby. Thank you to 2 for putting Worcester in the position to show how Worcester they are, right?
Yeah. Big ups to friend of the show, Neil McNamara, too, for that work that enabled that to happen.
Yeah, for sure. That was a crucial records request get. And yeah, to Yenny's point, if the council majority is different than it is now, if it swings to like a 6-5 for progressives instead of an 8-3 against progressives, then so much of this shit just doesn't happen anymore.
Call Eric Batista a liar every damn week.
Yeah, you can just keep doing it. So let's move on to our next topic. This very, very awesome Instagram post from the Worcester Memorial Auditorium, which we have up here on the screen. And I would beg you to let's just zoom in a little bit if we can. I don't know if that's possible. Yes. The Worcester Memorial Auditorium is going to have an attack helicopter from the movie franchise Avatar hanging from the ceiling as depicted in this mock drawing. For what reason, it's left unsaid, but Jake Sanders' name is very clearly attached to that. It's the first 2 words of the caption. This is Jake Sanders' idea, and we see an attack helicopter from Avatar hanging from the ceiling.
Jake Sully, I could understand. Jake Sanders, I don't know.
Yeah. They had the wrong Jake. Yeah, the graphic designers were like, "Oh, Jake Sully's on this project. He loves these things." But like, so the idea with the odd here is that it's going to be like an esports arena, right? And that's good. That's like a better bet than baseball, because esports is rapidly growing. But like Avatar Attack Helicopter is not like a video game thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like there's not really a huge video game component to the Avatar cultural impression. Like, is there a game at all? I don't know.
I don't think there was supposed to be an Avatar game, but I don't think it ever actually happened.
Yeah.
It's just the wildest thing about to me is like that part specifically is like literally the World War I memorial. Like the whole building is a memorial auditorium to World War I. It was built after, like, as part of a federal program. That hall, like the entrance hall there, is literally like the memorial part, and it's like, in some ways, it's like, oh yeah, we'll put a war thing up there, and then it's just so wild to me to like even if you pick the Halo helicopter, like it's so wild to put that in the middle of a World War I auditorium.
Yeah. They should have put a dirigible.
Yeah.
They should have put one of those tanks with the tiny little gun in the front that could get over the trenches. Those early tanks from like 1917. Yeah. They should have put a big muddy trench in the middle of it.
Yeah, right. And then when you get in there, you just get stuck in one place for like a year at a time. And then nothing happens, and then on Christmas everybody plays football.
Right. Yeah. And you hear a whistle blow, and then you just have to run into machine gun fire. But I mean, I know that these like early like artist sketches of what things are going to look like is, I mean, they're always sort of goofy. Like this one is especially goofy, but they're always sort of goofy. And like it's good that the art is going to be reused for something. But I don't know if I 100% totally see this one working out. Like, I just don't. What is the analog or the parallel for like an esports arena? I just really don't know what it is. It's like a convention center usually.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and I think that's like you said. Like I think that's part of why it's a smart angle is that there is nothing that no one else has like understood this aspect of it. Like what was it, like 2 weeks ago at the Garden? Like they sold out for a Rocket League playoffs game.
So
like
sick.
it like so yeah. I mean there's something there, and I think if you have even just something that's not even like dedicated but like more focused on esports, I think that it could be a great sell once you get it done. It's just getting from here to there just seems so.
Yeah.
That's just it, Brian. I mean, you look at like, take the Amazon or the Greendale Mall parcel, right? Like, so Amazon backs away. Like, our options for that building now are basically like pickleball or giant like AI data center. You build out a esports arena in that capacity. The number of alternative businesses that could, even if it fails miserably, that could slide right in there. Like that's an IMAX theater, that's a movie theater downtown. Like there's just a million things because of the data sources you're going to be bringing in, and the way it's rated out from an audio and visual perspective is massive.
Yeah,
right. But how?
Go ahead.
Sorry, this is really important. How are they going to get all the way to Pandora to get?
See, that's the problem. You need unobtainium, but the only way to get unobtainium is to go to Pandora.
Right. And all of those attack helicopters at this point, I mean, we're onto the second movie. They have been severely damaged by the Navi.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like there aren't very many of those helicopters that survive the destruction of the home tree. And
pilots, forget about it. I mean, we lost Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah, and she was the best of them. No, but Brennan, that is a good point about like just getting the infrastructure in there to do something modern with it is a huge step. The only problem is that area has been so excavated by the highway that it's just like it being used for a lot of people going to things is a nightmare. You know?
Yeah, they really have to figure out either like on-site park, like close by parking, like right behind across the street there. They have to figure that out, like a garage of some kind, or honestly, like once the Amazon thing just completely goes away, just do shuttles make that parking for more downtown stuff, and just do like a pretty robust shuttle system. It's only like a 5-minute drive.
Right.
It is so hilarious every time I think about it or drive past it that Amazon complex is just never going to be used.
Right.
Like they're just going to flip it for like, it's built out for an operation that's like singular in the world, and they're just going to sit on it till they can flip it to something that's not Amazon. Like who else needs that the way that it's built?
Right.
Yeah, we should just tear it down. Eminent domain.
We should.
Eminent
to the
domain.
point about highway access too. I mean, that's a small thing that came up in the council meeting last week that I feel a lot of us missed because it was so mind-numbing. But that DOT is starting conversations about starting to take offline some of our on and off ramps along 290. That we have too many of them. So I mean, there actually is a lot of things that could come into play with that intersection in particular, taking a lot of load off of the highway-based traffic, just to keep things moving a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, it's a long shot, but it is still just conceptually, I think there's something there to work with.
Oh, can you imagine the townie moral panic it would cause if exit?
I'm here for it.
If they were like, if DOT was like, we're getting rid of exit 18, and it's like, what? How am I supposed to get to the courthouse from Auburn? Right. And it's just a complete moral panic of people being like, why would you do this? You know, people would just flip out. That'd be awesome. I am really here for it. Any you want to ask a political question, Gooch?
Yeah, Gooch, get in here.
Gooch in the chat wants to ask a political question. So I guess we'll just wait and see. The details of that post were pretty vague. It was just like, hey, we have a concept sketch, but like we don't really know how far along we are on this at all. There's like no details at all, and there was no news stories about it today, which I found weird.
Right.
Like, there was no press release or anything. They just like were like, hey, here's what's going to look like. It's like, okay, I have very little reason to believe you, you know. But you know, I guess we'll just wait and see. Jake Sanders is now working for the Research Development Administration, and he's mining obtainium. You know, that's what you get. That's what you get for working with Ed Augustus. You go up and you know, you got an assignment to Pandora. And yeah, I see a lot of people in the chat talking about the Jose Rivera campaign. And wait, what's going on in the chat here? I know, but
yeah, I don't think
yeah, whatever. Yeah. So another thing that happened at the last city council meeting, which I actually didn't write about, but was really, really funny to watch, is that Jose Rivera ate a massive pile of shit for his conspiracy theory that they put in bike lanes to piss people off on Mill Street. Mm-hmm. like they didn't tell anybody about these bike lanes because they're liars or whatever. And he got trounced by pretty much everyone. Like even Eric Batista was like, yeah, no, we put a lot of thought and care and attention into these construction projects, and what you believe happened actually didn't happen at all. And that trouncing of Jose Rivera is going to continue on July 31st with a public meeting about what has and hasn't been said about the Mill Street project, where the literally wrong position that Jose Rivera has will have to be reiterated, where he is just wrong again. Like, mm-hmm. And it's just amazing to see, because, you know, he was there in the background for like 10 speakers who were like, the Mill Street reconstruction is great. We love it. There's nothing wrong with it. Well, he's just sitting there with his campaign manager, Walter Bird, and he gets up to the podium and he can just barely articulate why he even thought it was an issue to begin with. Like, it's like you couldn't even get out of him what his points were, and his ending statement was essentially, "Oh, if you think that, you know, it's best what you're doing, then that's great. Love to hear it. I just wish you informed the residents." And now this is going to a totally unnecessary public meeting where his last leg of defense of why he made this an issue is going to be entirely ruined by just they're telling the residents. And it's like, I just can't wait for him and his cohort to show up to that.
Yeah.
And what's their chess move in this situation? They're like, okay, you guys want a public meeting? Sure, we'll schedule one in like 3 weeks. And it's totally fine. There's literally no conspiracy here.
Yeah.
His council order was so useless and meaningless that even he couldn't support his own council order.
Right. And meanwhile, Walter Baird, you can just see him in the background being like, oh, come on. I told you this was a winning issue. Meanwhile, he's like actually just backing off entirely as he's speaking. He's like, oh, I see now. That makes more sense. Thank you. I just wish I knew about it before I put this on the council agenda. It's like, bro, you could have. Let's just make a phone call. Yeah. But that's going to be an interesting one to watch. And we should see if we can get a live stream of that for the stream, since there's no city council meetings until August. That would be a fun one.
Yeah.
To watch. When is the 31st anyways? Like next week? Yeah, next Monday. Yeah, that'd be fun. We'll see. But yeah, that's how the Jose Rivera campaign is going. I really don't think that race is going to be fair. I don't think that election is going to be fair at all. I really do think we're seeing somebody who everyone was worried at the onset. It's like, oh, hometown hero. It's going to be some sort of right-wing firebrand whipping up like townie opposition to like literally the smartest city councilor that we have. And it's just not really scary anymore. Like, obviously, like the Attell campaign needs as much help as they can get, and it's still a fight. And like the worst thing you can do is sleep on it. But just from my perspective, like just looking at it right now, it's like I don't think this guy's that much of an issue. It doesn't even seem like he really wants it. Right?
No, and like like you can see like if you go into like Facebook groups and like local like conservative weirdo Facebooks, you just see like Anthony Petroni all over everybody's page, like trying to coach them like how to support Jose Rivera and stuff. Mm-hmm. Ooh, it's getting dire.
Yeah. And as we already went over, he barely got the signatures, right? Like he had to actually switch races because of the signature problem. And it's like this like Anthony Petroni, Rick Cipro, Walter Bird, Jose Rivera contingent of city politics like gets on Talk of the Commonwealth and stuff, and they get their positions quoted on various issues, but like it's a very small group of people. Like the Colleen Wests of the world. It's like that is not the majority of Worcester people. They're just the most annoying.
Right.
So they benefit from 15% turnout in municipal elections and stuff.
Exactly.
And that's how Donna Colorio keeps her spot on the board, despite being literally useless in every way. But I really think that we could see that totally fall on its head this year, and that would be very interesting to see.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, this is the extent of your base. You got 1,500 votes, and that's literally the size of this entire coalition that hangs up like every single homeless shelter in the city. It's just those are the cranks that people think they need to panic to. But
right.
There's just not enough of them.
But going back to the first conversation, it's been a working model for decades now, and it's just starting to fall with the same people. I mean, that's the other thing too. I mean, Joe, I think we discussed last week, has been in office since 1998.
Right.
Why change things up now?
Yeah, right. Like I don't think they really see what's on the wind here. They're just like, oh, it's going to be the same as every year. Wayne Griffin is someone that I need to respect and cater to. And I just don't know. I don't see it. I mean, maybe that's being a little bit overly optimistic about things, but I really want to relish in this contingent of people eating shit.
Yeah.
It would be very satisfying to see. And I hope it happens. But probably the last thing I want to talk about today is that the cat is out of the bag now, thanks to Neil McNamara at the Patch. Me and Karaberg Powers and a bunch of other people are opening up a video store on Chandler and June Street, and it is going to serve as the base of operations for a media foundation attached to Worcester Sucks. That's a mouthful, but basically what's going to happen here is that we're going to have a cool little video store, and Worcester Sucks is going to have a newsroom, and it's going to be all tied into one with programming, and it's going to be a cool thing to build out and check and see if it works. It's something that the foundation thing is something I've been wanting to do for a while, because I just want Worcester Sucks to be like an institution more than it's just like me, right? I don't like, that's my end goal, is that it's like its own thing. So this is a step towards trying to make that reality.
Trying to poison the brains of more than just your direct circle.
Right. Yeah. Trying to spread a virus.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as part of that, I'm going to be doing some interesting things, community newsroom events, which might be interesting for some people who want to come out and, workshop pitches and talk about issues. And you can just come down, and it'll be like an open sort of meeting where we talk about what should be getting covered, what isn't getting covered, that kind of thing. And then some more ambitious stuff around trying to coach up a bunch of mini-me's and get people invested in trying to do local reporting, because it's really not that hard. So I'm going to be putting on some programming that sort of demystifies that whole thing, and you can start doing it. And I'm going to get some guided research projects, and it's going to be all cool stuff. It's going to be good. I'll probably start streaming from there too eventually, once we get that set up. So you can come down to the Rewind video store, internet cafe, and punch me in the face while I'm streaming if I forget to lock the door, which would be awesome. Yes, imagine, that would be so funny if I was just like back to the door, and you see someone walking behind me and just sock me in the face while I'm streaming.
Bill Shiner.
Yeah. Then I'll be Bill Shiner. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so exciting. That like the whole thing is amazing. Just having a rental establishment is like incredible. There's a severe lack of that, and streaming is only getting worse. So to be able to have a repository is incredible.
Yeah, the idea is to kind of feel it out and see like what people want, but like offer like something that's consciously unalgorithmic, right? Like kind of tailored towards certain tastes, and has nothing to do with whatever Netflix decides is the most popular number one movie on a given day, which is a totally unknowable metric, and like stuff just disappears. And
so when I was like, my like weird movie taste developed simply because of video stores. Like the opportunity to walk in and just like find something insane that like gets equal shelf space with regular things is just not an opportunity that a lot of like younger people have these days. It's different. It's very different now. It's not like, there's some things that are great, but they just don't have that like that place to go.
Right.
And have somebody telling them like, watch this stupid ass movie that you're gonna like, that'll catapult you into 5 more like good movies.
Yeah. I was talking to Neil about that. It's like the comic stores and record stores have outlived their useful life and are literally exist for people to have a place to go to just like be in a physical place of their passion, right? But like video stores, not the same thing for some reason. Like in almost everywhere. Like since I was a little kid, the only video store I've been to was in like Portland, Oregon. And I was there one time, and it was like super sick, like hipster, like little video store. And I was like, oh, this place is cool, you know? So it's at the end of the day, we want to make it a cool place to go that people want to go to. So we're gonna try to do that.
It's very exciting. It's extremely exciting. I'm very happy for you guys and excited for me, honestly.
yeah.
Run in and punch you in the face.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. If you're like, hey guys, I gotta go walk my dog. I'll be back in 10 minutes, and then the next time you come on screen, it's just behind me, socking me in the face. It'd be so funny. No, but there is a Materia arcade is going to be next door in the same building, so there's going to be an arcade, and we met Andy. I met him a couple weeks ago, and he's a really cool guy. So it's going to be arcade, flower shop, video store. Nice. And I'll be
at
the video store. Yeah, and then Loving Hut's right over there. You can go read up on the Supreme Being and watch a cult do cult business on the TV while you eat little soups. And yeah, it's gonna be really cool. But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to talk about for this Power Hour?
I mean, yeah, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the two big movie openings after we just talked about movies, and a bunch of people talked about movie theaters earlier in the comments.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I did Oppen Barbie. I didn't do Barbenheimer. I did Oppenheimer.
I did same.
Yeah, and I thought that was the right way to do it. You know, because it brings you down and then pulls you back up. But my God, Oppenheimer, fucking fantastic film. Like anybody trying to do criticisms of that movie, it's just like, fucking, you don't like movies. I'm sorry, you just don't like movies. That was a great movie.
It really was like people's criticisms of it have all been like huge misreadings of the movie. You know, this is Christopher Nolan. We all know who he is as a director. He's not some like he's not even a pretentious director. The guy directed friggin' The Dark Knight. Like you know, like he's got an aesthetic, but he's a filmmaker, like a movie guy more than anything. And that's the big thing that I really loved about the movie, is that it felt like a movie. It didn't feel like a weird, like psychological, like, you know, like freak out on this guy. Like it was a movie. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was exceptionally well done. I really don't think people are saying it lionizes Oppenheimer. It really doesn't. Like it really truly doesn't. And I think it gives rise to the complicated nature of this whole thing, the people involved, the politics involved, the war. It was really well done. I saw it in IMAX, and it was the best IMAX presentation I've ever seen. If anybody has the chance to go to Providence Place, it's like the best IMAX in the Northeast. Like it's the only place. There's like less than 100 IMAX theaters in the world that are still running full size, like they call them 1570 IMAX projectors, and it's legitimately ceiling to floor the movie. Like at certain parts, like it is a 40-foot tall frame. And it was staggering.
I might have to do that. I only went down there recently to see Beau is Afraid, and I was like, this is not the movie that I want to watch in this format, but this format's fucking awesome. So Oppenheimer might be like what I go down there for.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I loved Barbie, man. I loved it. It was really funny. It was so funny.
Cute movie. It really was. It really was cute. A good movie. Everything about it was great. I really liked the Ruth character. Not to give anything away, but I thought they were going to Tom Bombadil that one, and they didn't. But that's getting into spoiler territory. We don't want to go there.
Gosling was unbelievable in that movie. Like
so funny.
He's just unreal. This my largest thought coming out of that day though is like they're fucking up so bad by like like the producers and studios by causing this strike and extending it and making it go longer and longer at a time when like this should be a catapult for the industry. Like this weekend proves that you can have movie theaters be successful. Like
yeah, cinema was back. Like
dude,
going to the movie theater, it was crazy.
Fucking bad. It was insane.
I've never seen it like that. Yeah,
it was insane. And they are, if they don't, we're good. We're halfway through or almost into August. If something doesn't happen by the end of August, then the first half of next year, there's going to be no movies. They've already blown it for like if they get to that point. There's going to be no movies. It's going to crush the theaters again, and then you're going to need another miracle, to like this to bring it back, which they won't do because they're fucking dumb studios and they'll fuck it up again. But it was like unbelievable to sit in 2 completely full movie theaters, like
Love it.
completely sold out, like 2 different audiences, like people like buzzing, going nuts. We went to showcase Blackstone for Barbie at night, and the power went out like 3 times during the movie.
no way.
Yeah. There was a storm happening. There's probably more people like in that place than have been since they opened it. And the screen went off like 3 times, and didn't hurt my enjoyment of the movie. It was still great. But it really did put like that thing to like, it really made it clear, like we need a professional theater.
Oh, big time.
Like,
yeah,
you look at like even just like the difference between even just like somebody like being able to run an IMAX screen, which that wasn't perfect either. There was like some stuff, but like just the difference between that and just like it's been so passive for so long. We need a professional theater. We need a theater in Worcester. It's crazy that like
it's crazy.
we're passing that up. We're passing up something like this. It's so insane.
Listen. I'm God of Worcester. I'm putting the entire City Hall staff on pursuing Alamo Drafthouse at any costs, and that's the sole focus of my administration. I won't respond to another order until a deal with Alamo Drafthouse is struck. It's like why don't we have a movie theater that's so fucking crazy? That is
wrong.
so insane. We like Worcester
wrong.
North closed, and we're just like, well, yeah, I guess we're never gonna see a movie in Worcester again.
Bill, did you ever go to the showcase downtown? Were you here yet when it closed?
No, I don't think
Brennan,
so.
Incredible.
Do you like just like
the 2 things that I remember seeing down there were, so they relaunched Star Wars briefly when Empire Strikes Back came out, and then Annie. And I know it's like 2 completely unrelated movies, but like as a kid, like the experience of being in that theater surrounded by people, I mean, it's the Hanover basically. So I mean, like the chandelier and whatnot, it's just like everything about that theater was just amazing.
Like magical.
Yeah.
I saw it when they did the special editions of Star Wars. We went and saw them there, and I was like, we only go see like special stuff there because it was 2 screens.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like the only bigger stuff played there, and we saw that, and that was like the most unbelievable experience I've ever had. And yeah, I just like, it's so crazy that you can't just go downtown and walk into a theater and like see something in a house like that,
Right. I mean, yeah, it should be a policy priority, like, but the fact that it isn't speaks volumes,
right.
I think.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I think that there's a lot of people, even within City Hall, that agree and would like, there's a younger group coming up too that would really push for it.
Yeah,
but it's hard because we have up at the top, we have same old. We have people that are more interested in speaking to developers and getting like setting themselves up for maybe like a future career or something, than doing what, something that like having weird people like go for it with a weird thing that can succeed if you give it the chance.
Right.
I think that's got to be the part of the fear too, Brian. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, so Oppenheimer and Barbie, like 2 massive productions with massive marketing that went behind them. I mean, I went and saw Mission Impossible 3 the week before. It was only a week out, and we were basically by ourselves in the theater. There was like one other dude in the row that we were in, and then a big crowd behind us. But it was an empty theater for all intent and purposes. It seems like it's a tough sell because it's the industry is like, if it's not a Marvel movie or Oppenheimer or some other IP related project, it seems like it's not going to work.
No, but but I think like there's certain things that like even you talk about that, like I saw Mission Impossible the opening day, and there was nobody there. And like, you know, and if you look, we're talking about Oppenheimer. You look at those IMAX screenings, you can look out for its whole run. It's scheduled right now to run until August 10th in the Providence Place IMAX. It's half sold out at least for every single showing for the rest of the time it's out.
So
like
sick.
If you have something that people are willing to you know, go for, it's just like, but it's like from the top down. It's the studios aren't investing in stuff like that. They're not taking chances on things. They're not investing in people and doing it right. The theaters aren't really interested in like, you know, like setting things up and showing different things, and like, you know, and then towns and cities aren't really interested in giving over space to people that have the opportunity to like establish an audience for things, smaller things or different things. So,
which is just wild to me because I mean we've never had so many congruent generations like at the same time that like openly acknowledge that what they want is experience and like events, and like there's nothing left in that in the cinema universe that like feels like an event or an experience when you go. I mean, it's again like when you and I went to see Star Wars as kids downtown, probably somewhere on a top shelf is like the souvenir cup that you got from like things mattered, and there's just nothing left to that. It's too bad.
I mean, it'd be nice if they seize on this energy to bring it back, but instead they're just going to try to pay extras $20 for their CGI AI likeness and never have a real person in a movie theater in a movie production ever again. And they're going to die on that hill. We want I mean, I hope that doesn't happen. I really hope that doesn't happen, but it's very clear what they're trying to do here.
No, we gotta take it back. Take it back.
Take it back. Union power, baby. Let's go. So that's probably a good place to end the this edition of the Worcester Sucks Power Hour. Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Brendan.
Thank you
for joining in. Anything either of you guys want to plug on the way out?
August 13th, come down to the White Room. We have Eddie Pepitone coming to town.
Woo!
Nice.
I'll be there.
Just announced on October 22nd, David Bory, incredible comedian. He's got a couple great podcasts. One called My Mama Told Me that people might know. We just announced that. It's going to be at Ralph's on 10/22. Tickets are live. Check out our Eventbrite for more details.
Brian, I don't know if you can help Counselor Toomey out, but I mean, she had a question earlier today. Do you think maybe we could leave that up? And
I forgot about this. This is the
folks in the chat can help Kate solve this mystery.
Hold on, let me just read this out loud. It's a picture of two steak knives, and Kate Toomey says, "Okay, who knows what these are, and where they came from, and why you still have them?" What the fuck? That is so threatening. That is so scary. What is she? Who is the you? Who still has them?
This is
it's cryptic. This is some eyes wide shut. It's eyes wide shut stuff. Yeah. Also, the surface of the table that those knives are on is like not a home countertop.
No,
that's like an evidence room.
That's shot. That's painted cement. That's threatening.
It has worrying blotches on it. It's that's fucked up. That's a lot there to get to the bottom.
Yeah, people check in on Kate Toomey, make sure she's okay.
Right, and if you have any inkling or indication that you might be the you in that sentence that Kate Toomey put on the internet, find a safe house. Lay low for a while. Definitely don't be somewhere she can find you. That's all I'm saying. Just give it a couple of weeks at least. Whew. I wouldn't want that kind of heat on me. All right, everyone. Thank you for everyone in the comments. This has been a lot of fun. and hopefully we can do it again next week. Keep these going on Tuesdays. That would be great. But we will let you know when the next one's going to be. And thank you so much for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.
We love
Have a good one.
you.